Have you ever thought about how all these different religions with all their, kind of conflicting ideas could actually work together?
It's an ambitious idea, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you think about all the different concepts of God out there, right?
Right.
I mean, one God, three in one, many gods, no God.
Right.
It can seem impossible to bring them all together.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the differences.
Yeah.
What if instead of focusing on, where religions disagree, we look for a bigger picture where they actually, kind of fit together?
Yeah, that's what's so fascinating about this idea of the five realms.
Yeah.
It's like a map of reality.
Yeah.
Not like a literal map,
Right.
but a way to visualize how these different beliefs could fit together, in a larger cosmological scheme.
Yeah.
And we start with what's familiar,
Right.
the physical world, which the Baha'i teachings call Nasut.
Right. So that's our starting point, the world we experience every day.
Exactly.
But then we layer on the malakut, the
Yeah.
angelic or spiritual realm.
Yeah, now things are getting interesting.
Right.
Because now we're talking about a reality beyond time and space,
All right.
inhabited by beings like angels or spirits.
Whoa.
It really challenges our everyday perception of, what's real.
Okay, so we've got the physical world, then the spiritual realm.
Right.
Where do we go from there?
Upwards
Okay.
to the Jabarut,
Jabarut.
a realm of paradise and divine power. Imagine it as the point where God's will enters creation, shaping and influencing everything.
So is this where we'd find figures like Abdu'l-Baha or Guanyin, those beings with, extraordinary spiritual influence?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Jabarut is associated with those powerful spiritual beings,
Yeah.
those who act as conduits for divine power.
Okay.
But even this realm isn't the highest level.
Oh, wow. So there's more.
Yeah.
That's right. We still have two more to go. Next is Lahut, the realm of God's attributes. This one seems almost impossible to grasp.
Yeah. It represents pure oneness and unity, the essence of divine qualities as we can understand them. Think of it as the source of all those attributes we ascribe to God, love, wisdom, justice, mercy,
Okay.
all of those big ones.
And finally, we reach the peak, Hahut, the realm of God's essence.
This is where things get really mind-bending.
Right.
Because it's a realm so utterly beyond our comprehension that language itself fails us. It's not something we can describe or define, only approach through what it is not.
Yeah, the source material uses terms like apophatic and via negativa to hint at this idea.
Yeah.
It's like trying to understand infinity. You can point towards it,
Yep.
but you can't actually grasp it.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how many different traditions wrestle with this concept of the divine that transcends human understanding.
Yeah.
Terms like Parabrahman or Nirguna Brahman point to that same idea of an ultimate reality beyond our grasp.
So we've got these 5 realms, each building on the last.
Right.
But how do we actually use this model to understand religious figures and ideas? I mean, it's a cool concept, but how does it apply in practice?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Take humans, for example.
Yeah.
We exist in the physical world, right?
Yeah.
But we also have this capacity for spiritual longing, for connection to something beyond ourselves.
So we're sort of straddling the line between the physical realm, Nasut, and the spiritual realm, Malakut.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We embody that tension between the material and the spiritual.
Okay.
And then you have figures like angels or spirits who reside primarily in Malakut, influencing the spiritual dimension of our lives.
Okay, that makes sense. But where do figures like Jesus or Buddha fit into this picture? They
Yeah.
seem to operate on a whole other level.
Yeah, that's where the analogy of the sun and its rays comes in. Figures like Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Baha'u'lláh, they're seen as rays emanating from the realm of Lahut, that source of divine attributes,
Right.
manifesting in Jabarut to guide humanity.
Okay, so they're not from the realm of God's attributes, but they act as conduits, bringing those qualities into the world in a way we can understand.
Precisely. They each reflect a particular facet of those divine attributes tailored to the needs of humanity at a specific time and place.
Okay, so we're starting to see how this model can help us understand where different religious figures fit in, but what about all those different ideas about God?
Right.
Some religions emphasize oneness, others a trinity, others multiple deities.
Yeah.
How do we reconcile those through this framework?
That's where the concept of theology comes in, the study of God and divine principles. The 5 realms suggest that these different conceptions of God aren't necessarily contradictory, but rather reflect different levels of understanding or emphasis.
So when a religion emphasizes God's oneness, it's aligning with that realm of pure unity Lahut.
Got it. While a concept like the Trinity, with its three distinct aspects of God, might be seen as a manifestation in Jabarut, where the divine will takes on a more differentiated form.
And even the idea of multiple deities could be understood through this lens,
Yeah.
reflecting the diverse expressions of divine power in Jabarut or even Malakut.
Exactly.
Hmm.
The model allows us to see these theological differences, not as irreconcilable conflicts, but as different facets of a larger, more complex understanding of the divine.
This is starting to feel less like separate religions and more like a tapestry being woven together.
Mhm.
But before we get too deep into that, I think it's time we connect all of this back to our listener.
Yeah,
Why should they care about this model?
right.
How could understanding these five realms impact their life?
That's a great question, and one we'll explore more deeply in the next part of our deep dive, because this isn't just an intellectual exercise.
Right.
It has real implications for how we live our lives, how we interact with the world, and how we understand our place in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. I can't wait to dive deeper into those implications.
Me too.
So we've been exploring this fascinating Baha'i model of the five realms of existence,
Yeah,
and it's already kind of shifted my perspective on how different spiritual ideas might actually be connected.
right.
But before we get, too lost in the cosmic scale of it all, I'm curious.
Yeah. Where does the rest of creation fit in?
Right.
We've talked about humans and angels, but what about
Yeah.
animals, plants, and the whole natural world?
Right. That's a question that has fascinated theologians and philosophers for centuries.
Yeah.
And the five realms model offers a unique perspective. It places all three kingdoms of nature,
Okay.
mineral, vegetable, and animal, within that foundational realm of Nasut, the physical world.
So everything we see around us in the natural world is part of that first realm.
Yeah.
Huh. It's interesting to think of it as the bedrock, the foundation upon which those other more spiritual realms are built.
Precisely. It highlights the interconnectedness of all creation.
Yeah.
Even those realms beyond our immediate perception are ultimately rooted in this physical world.
I'm really curious about this idea of interconnectedness. Earlier, we talked about how humans straddle the line between the physical and spiritual realms, Nasut and Malakut.
Right.
Does that mean animals and plants are purely physical?
Yeah.
Or could there be a spiritual dimension to them as well? That's a thought-provoking question, and one that the source material doesn't explicitly answer.
Huh.
But it does suggest that all of creation reflects in some way those divine attributes emanating from Lahut, the realm of God's attributes.
So even a rock or a tree could be seen as a reflection, however faint, of those divine qualities.
It's a perspective that encourages us to see the world around us with a sense of awe and wonder, to recognize the beauty and complexity even in those things we might consider inanimate.
I love that. It's like this model is pushing us to look for those deeper connections, those threads of unity that run through all of creation.
Hmm.
Okay, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about something that really caught my attention in the source material, this concept of prophetology. I'm
Yeah.
guessing this has something to do with prophets.
You got it. Prophetology explores the nature and role of prophets or divine messengers in different religious traditions. And the five realms model provides a really interesting lens through which to understand them.
Okay, so how does the model help us understand prophetology? Because earlier we talked about those figures like Jesus, Buddha, and Muhammad being like rays of the sun from the realm of God's attributes, Lahut.
Right.
How does that connect to prophetology?
Well, it suggests that these prophets are not just historical figures, but rather manifestations of those divine attributes within the realm of Jabarut, where God's will enters creation.
Okay.
Each prophet, according to this framework, reflects a particular facet of those divine attributes, tailored to the specific needs and capacities of humanity at a given time.
So it's like each prophet is a unique expression of the divine, but they're all drawing from the same source.
Exactly. And the beauty of this model is that it allows for multiple prophets, each with their own unique message and mission, to be seen as part of a cohesive whole. It's not about one prophet being better than another, but rather about recognizing the unique role each played in the unfolding of God's plan.
This is making me think about all the different religions out there, each with their own prophets and their own unique sets of beliefs.
Right.
And sometimes it feels like those differences are what divide us. But this model seems to be suggesting that those differences might not be as significant as we think.
That's where the concept of theology becomes crucial. Theology in this context is the study of God and divine principles. And the five realms model suggests that those different theological concepts we find in different religions can actually be understood as expressions of different levels of reality.
So instead of seeing those different ideas about God as conflicting or contradictory, we can view them as different perspectives on the same truth.
Precisely. Take, for example, the different ways religions conceptualize God. Some emphasize God's oneness, while others speak of a trinity or even multiple deities. The Five Realms model suggests that these different concepts can be understood as reflecting different aspects of the divine reality.
Okay. Could you elaborate on that a bit? How would the model explain those different concepts of God?
Sure. Well, the concept of God's oneness, which is central to religions like Judaism and Islam, aligns perfectly with the realm of Lahut, where God is seen as pure unity in essence.
Hmm.
On the other hand, the Christian concept of the Trinity, with its three distinct aspects of God, could be interpreted as reflecting the manifestation of those divine attributes in the realm of Jabarut, where God's will enters creation in a more differentiated form.
So it's not about which concept is right or wrong, but about understanding how they relate to different levels of reality within this model.
Exactly. And the concept of multiple deities, often found in Hinduism, could be seen as reflecting the diverse expressions of divine power and influence within Jabarut and even in Malakut. It's about recognizing the richness and diversity of these theological perspectives without getting caught up in the idea that they have to contradict each other.
Hmm. This model is really starting to challenge my assumptions about how we view religious differences. It's like it's offering a way to see the harmony beneath the surface disagreements. But I have to ask, how does this model, with all its intricate details, actually impact our lives? I mean, does understanding these five realms actually make a difference in our day-to-day experience?
That's the crucial question, isn't it?
Hmm.
And it's one that the source material explores quite deeply. Because the Five Realms model isn't just an abstract intellectual exercise.
Yeah.
It has real practical implications for how we live our lives, how we interact with others, and how we understand our place in the universe.
Okay, so we've been on quite a journey with this, Baha'i concept of the five realms of existence.
Yeah.
And it's really challenged my thinking about how we, view different religions and their ideas.
Right.
But I keep coming back to these two concepts,
Yeah.
the unity of religion and progressive revelation.
Uh-huh.
They feel so relevant, especially in a world where religious differences, so often seem to be the cause of so much conflict.
Yeah, these concepts are at the heart of the Baha'i teachings, and they offer a powerful vision for how we can move beyond those divisions,
Yeah.
and create a more harmonious world.
Okay, so let's start with the unity of religion. What does that even mean? Does it mean everyone has to believe the same thing?
That's a common misconception.
Right.
The unity of religion isn't about, uniformity of belief or practice.
Okay.
It's about recognizing the underlying oneness of all religions,
Right.
the idea that they all share a common origin in a single divine source.
So it's not about erasing those differences between religion,
Right.
but about seeing them as part of a larger interconnected whole.
Exactly. Imagine different paths all leading to the same summit.
Okay.
Each path might have its own unique features, its own challenges and rewards, but ultimately they all converge at the same destination.
That's a great analogy. But if all religions share a common origin,
Right.
how do we explain all those different prophets, different scriptures, different beliefs?
Yeah.
That's where progressive revelation comes in, right?
Precisely. Progressive revelation suggests that God's truth isn't revealed all at once, but rather unfolds gradually and progressively throughout history through a series of divine messengers or prophets.
So it's like God is revealing the truth in stages tailored to the, specific needs and understanding of humanity at different points in time.
Exactly. Think of it like an unfolding story.
Okay.
Each prophet brings a new chapter, building upon the teachings of those who came before, revealing a deeper understanding of God's will and purpose. And the Five Realms model helps us understand how those prophets fit into this grand scheme of progressive revelation.
Okay, remind me how that works again. I remember we talked about those figures like Moses, Jesus, Buddha being like rays of the sun
Right.
emanating from the realm of God's attributes, Lahut.
Right.
How does that connect to progressive revelation?
Each of these prophets, according to this framework, reflects a particular facet of those divine attributes, manifesting those qualities in the realm of Jabarut, where God's will shapes creation.
They act as conduits, bringing those divine truths into the world in a way that humanity can understand at a given time.
So even though they might have different teachings,
Right?
they're all tapping into that same divine source.
Exactly. It's like a prism refracting light.
Okay.
The light itself is one, but it manifests in a spectrum of different colors.
Right.
And each prophet reflects a particular hue of that divine light appropriate for their time and place.
This is starting to click for me.
Good.
The unity of religion is about recognizing that shared origin and, fundamental harmony of all religions.
Right.
And progressive revelation is about understanding how God's truth has been revealed gradually and progressively throughout history.
Yeah.
It's a powerful framework, for understanding the diversity of religious belief.
And it's not just a theoretical model.
Right.
These concepts have real implications for how we live our lives, how we relate to others, and how we build a more peaceful and just world.
Okay, all ears. How do we actually apply these concepts in the real world?
It starts with a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing those from different faiths as others,
Right.
we need to recognize our shared humanity. Instead of focusing on where we disagree, we need to look for common ground.
Yeah.
Instead of dismissing other beliefs as wrong,
Yeah.
we need to approach them with curiosity and respect.
It's about building bridges instead of walls, right?
Exactly. And the Five Realms model can be a powerful tool in that bridge-building process. It provides a common language, a shared framework for understanding and appreciating the beauty and complexity of human belief.
This has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of, religion and spirituality.
Yeah, me too.
But before we wrap up, I have one final question.
All right.
If we were to embrace this model, this vision of the unity of religion and progressive revelation,
Yeah.
what kind of world could we create?
That's the question we should all be asking ourselves.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where religious differences are seen not as threats, but as opportunities for growth and understanding. A world where people from diverse faith backgrounds work together to solve global problems, drawing on the wisdom and insights of their respective traditions. A world where peace and harmony prevail, where compassion and love replace fear and prejudice. That's the potential that lies within this model, within this vision of unity.
It's a beautiful vision and one that I think resonates deeply with all of us.
Me too.
So as we conclude this deep dive,
Yeah.
I invite you, the listener, to reflect on these ideas.
Right.
Explore them further. Consider how they might apply in your own life. Perhaps by embracing the unity that lies at the heart of all religions, we can start to build that world where peace and understanding reign supreme.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Until next time, keep diving deep.